the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to episode 230 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Beckson. Today, we're going to be talking with Jonathan and Belinda. They are co-founders of Mirame Art here in Costa Rica, a fine art company that focuses on acquiring and investing in fine art from some of Costa Rica's top painters. I'm very interested to kind of chat with them today about their journey and also kind of the impact that art can have of homes of Costa Rica, but also how this development in Costa Rica has helped local artists here as well. I know quite a few have done very, very well and that are very successful thanks to people like Jonathan and Belinda. So I think, that there is I wouldn't say a charitable arm, but there is a way here that, individuals from abroad are helping, showcase Costa Rican artists here, which I think is a great thing because before that, there really wasn't that much international showcasing. So it's going to be great to chat with them again about their adventure that they've had so far and how they ended up here in Costa Rica. But remember, guys, if you're looking to do anything here in Costa Rica, please feel free to reach out to us in the link down below. There's a button that you can click there and find basically 30 minutes with one of the guys in the office. You can email me directly, info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. A lot of you are reaching out for project management help, basically making sure that you don't get burnt during the design and bidding and construction phase. We'd love to hold people's hands through that. We help people invest here in Costa Rica as well. We have an arm to do that. And we also have an investment fund as well here, guys, where we're actually developing at the moment 6 villas in Manuel Antonio and actually doing 8 villas in Aranao if anyone wants to get interested. One of them's fully funded. The other one's about to kick off, which is kind of more of a Bali style home, which is pretty cool up by the waterfall. And then in 2025, we're about to kick off 6 villas which basically kind of roll down to a beautiful river with a stunning volcano view. We're actually going to rewild that property as well with a bit of a sustainable focus on that one. So remember, you can email us info@investingcostarica.com. You can also sign up for the newsletter there, guys, and get all of our analysis that we do and all of the data as well. But anyway, enough from me. Let's get straight into the podcast. Good afternoon, Jonathan and Belinda. How are you doing?
Yeah, we're awesome. Thanks.
Good, thanks. Good to meet you.
Yeah, you too. It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for taking the time to join us here on the podcast. And I think something very different than what we've done before, which is what I'd love to, do on the podcast. I don't think there's, it's not all about real estate and like kind of educating people on that. I think it's about people's journeys and stories and how they're helping rise the tide of Costa Rica.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we're happy to contribute. We can also have a point or two about real estate, but certainly not to the degree or level that probably most of your other guests have.
Awesome. Well, I mean, look, post-US election, kind of where we're at the moment, I think we kind of saw a little bit of a pause before the election. I don't know what we're seeing now, whether there's going to be another pause or anything, but what are you guys seeing kind of happening from your side?
Post-election, we have heard from a few developments that they were expecting to see a potential upswing.
Yep.
Just people that disagree with the next administration. And so we have heard that has transpired, where some families are just like, hey, you know what, we've had enough of this back and forth pendulum swing. And so from purely from a US standpoint, we've seen a bit of an increase, not directly yet, but through our contacts at projects we have.
Okay. Can you guys explain exactly what it is that you guys do, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. All right. Yep. Yeah. So basically, we have a platform which represents the top Costa Rican contemporary artists. And Belinda's background, I'll let her do that.
Yes, yeah. So I'm from the UK. I worked in the London art scene for many years. So I most recently worked for one of the world's largest, most renowned contemporary art galleries. It's called White Cube, which was awesome. And then when I started spending time here in Costa Rica, I wanted to immerse myself in the artist communities here, which was actually quite a difficult task because there's not a gallery infrastructure to support artists. Yep. And a lot of them don't have websites or they're not on social media. It took nearly a year to find, we've got about 40 artists who we work with at the moment. And when we started to chat with them, a lot of them are in San Jose, but they are spread out across Costa Rica as well. We would be invited to their studios and then we would meet with them and we'd learn about their practice. And I was particularly blown away with the level of talent in Costa Rica, that the breadth of work that was coming out of the artist communities. And yeah, it was incredible, because it made me realize the people coming into the country who are investing in property and they want to buy artwork locally for their home. If it was difficult for me, who was really researching it, then how are people supposed to find it? So it was just about connecting people who have that appetite for art here in Costa Rica with the artists who are producing very high caliber work.
And then my background is technology, so works out well. So I was responsible for the platform, and that took also about a year. So that worked out timing wise. And we put in a lot of good technology. So we put in things like augmented reality, so you can see any piece in high definition in the correct dimensions on any wall anywhere in the world. So if you want to see what the art looks like in your place, you can see it. And then once you see you like it, you can position it. Then you go, great, I want that. And then we have everything integrated, whether it's invoicing, shipping, insurance, you name it, we've got it. So there was that. And then also we had initially thought maybe we set up our actual physical art gallery. And then when we realized we're in Playas del Coco, and there's 600 kilometers, 450 miles worth of shoreline, it's hard to get people to drive that far to go see a gallery.
Which is probably one of the reasons why there isn't a gallery infrastructure here in Costa Rica. And part of having a website as well enables us to really project the artists out into the world. So we're supporting them within Costa Rica. We're promoting their work to people who are buying these incredible homes and they want to have art on their walls. But also it's really important to show the rest of the world what Costa Rica has to offer in terms of, like, yes, beautiful beaches, rainforests, biodiversity, all of that. We all know that about Costa Rica. But really what people don't know about Costa Rica is the art scene. And that's something that I'm very passionate about.
Our latest initiative is at about 11 days away. So we're doing a pop-up at the 5-star hotel, Andaz. And so it's just beside the Four Seasons on the, Papagayo Peninsula. And so with them, they've given us a studio space. We're setting up temporary walls, building basically a gallery right in the location, and then bringing artists in to do talks and basically engage with the guests. So, one piece is, hey, when people come and buy and they stay, great. We're the platform and the place that they can go. When you're on vacation and you want to get engaged with not just the hotel, but a little bit more of what Costa Rica has to offer, we can bring it right to you. So we're doing that with them for 9 days or 8 days. Is it 8 days?
8 days.
8 days. Thanks. And then the last piece, which is just how we're trying to drive more visibility, is connecting through builders and construction projects, but trying to do it as early as possible. So that way, when they start looking at the FF&E packages, that people might be, okay, I've got my house, what do I want to put in it? That we have an art package available to them as well at that time, so they can personalize their home.
Yeah, and also a really nice thing about Mirame is that we have spent a lot of time getting to know all of the artists, and we really we really feel strongly about their practice, and we really want it to be a personalized service as well. So if people know they want to buy some pieces, but they're not really sure where to begin, or they're not really sure what their style is, then that's also something that we're very, very happy to provide, a full service.
Well, good for you guys. I mean, it's like, we did a house in Playas del Coco, actually, via Buena Onda in 2000. And we built that in 06, 07. And we actually found a guy in the airport that was like an artist, but could never make a living. So we were just like, dude, we got a huge house here. It was 1,000 square meters. Paint all the pictures for the whole thing. Go nuts, and we'll pay you for every single picture. But I mean, it's kind of one of those things that people think about last. It's not like one of those things that they have to think about. And a lot of the time they're just like, well, I'll get that later.
Right. Yeah. We're trying to inject that earlier.
Well, I think it's important because, again, it goes with the whole, when an interior designer or there's an FF&E package, it all kind of goes together, if that makes sense or makes sense. But you could sometimes walk into places where you're like, well, that piece of art doesn't really work there, if that makes sense, And there's a lot of that in Costa Rica of that, and let's call it crazy jungle art. And you see that all over the place here, which can be beautiful. It's a little too crazy for my taste, but it just doesn't kind of go with the setting, if that makes sense, of the furniture. And there needs to be that cohesion between the two things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the art scene in Costa Rica is a lot more than your toucans in a tree and your
Yeah.
brightly
And
surfboard, which, all good, but it's so much more than that.
of course.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys settled in Playas del Coco. Why did you decide there? I mean, of all the different areas in Costa Rica, why Playas del Coco?
Well, I started coming here in 2016, and it actually ended up being Coco. But we've traveled around the country a lot because this is our fourth year, 6 months of the year.
Yep.
We've done a lot of traveling around the country. We really love doing it, and Coco is sort of for us, a great mix of a few things. One, it's close to the airport, so you can get to it nice and easily. It's a great balance between expats and locals. So you've got a really nice community where you don't just feel like, hey, are there Costa Ricans in Costa Rica? So it's not that place. And then it's still kind of a little bit under market. I feel like it's got room to grow financially. There's a lot of stuff happening around it and decent infrastructure. So for all of those reasons, it drove us to this location.
Yeah, somebody brought up the Coco Marina the other day, and I just like laughed because I've been hearing that for 20 years since I first came here, and I'm like, look, in Costa Rica, don't believe anything until it actually happens. Until dirt's moving and stuff. Like, don't believe anything.
100%.
And even then, even if dirt's moving, that means it's getting underway, but how long it takes to complete is another story too. So,
Mate, just take a look at the Flamingo Marina. Yeah. So,
yeah. Well, that one's at least done.
Correct. But that thing took like 35 years, 40 years to get done, So,
right. Well, we're already 20 into this one. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, it's just another 10 or 15.
Vamos a ver. Like someone was also mentioning the airport in the south, and I was like, come on, guys. Like, if realtors are peeling off you should buy this because of that in the south. Like, you need to buy stuff based on today, not on don't speculate on the future. Like, are you okay with it today? Does it make sense today? Not with what's going to happen, because as we know, nothing happens quickly here.
That's totally true.
So, but I like Coco. Coco was like that. It was the Guanacaste beach town that every Costa Rican went to. It was like the Jaco of Guanacaste, if that makes sense. Like, everyone would go to Jaco because it was an hour and a half from San Jose. Everyone would go to Guanacaste go to Playas del Coco up in Guanacaste. I got a lot of Chico friends, where their families have homes on the beach there or in Playa Hermosa, and they remember going there. And yeah, it's a really great mix between locals and expats. Whereas Tamarindo is 95% expats and 5%, locals. So yeah.
If you want a taste of Florida, Tamarindo's awesome.
Yep.
And I do like Florida, but I didn't select Florida to live there. So for me, I like visiting Tamarindo, but we just decided it was a little too built up.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you guys again settled in Coco. You bought a property in Coco, right?
We have two. So we have a condo and we just finished a house.
Well, good for you guys. I mean, for anyone wanting to invest in property in that area, what do you think they should consider?
Well, there's not a ton of empty lots left down by the beach.
Yep.
So that land is running slim. There's some, but I think it really just depends on what you're looking for. Where do you want to be? So I think locations first and foremost. If there's a location that suits your lifestyle and what you want, I think that's going to be sort of primary. And then the second thing, which I think is really a factor all over Costa Rica, which is, how long is this project going to take? Do you have the right people to work with you on it? And make sure that you have all that in place. And which is difficult. And I would certainly recommend that people actually spend some time here to decide this is where they would really like to settle, because as much as we love it, it isn't necessarily for everybody. It can be a bit party when you're close to the main street. It can be quite quiet when you're over near where we are, which is closer to Las Palmas. And so I would just say probably the best thing, but I would recommend this for anywhere, is invest some time first rather than a knee-jerk reaction of pulling the trigger on a property.
Oh, and I mean, Coco in December is different than it is in April, which is different than it is in July, and different than it is in October. Like, it changes radically.
Mm-hmm.
So you might I don't know, January, February, March, where it's dry and kind of a little bit more dusty, and there's a lot of tourists there. But come September, there's not much moving.
Right.
And it's raining.
It's almost all locals. There's a few retirees that have, that are sticking out through the green season, and a lot of the bars and restaurants get really quiet, and some of them close for the for the green season. So for us it works out because we get a tail of the green season, we get a touch of it at the other end, we get all the dry, and then we do get the highs and lows of the beginning and the end of the season for how busy it is. But if you want it to be busy, pick either a Costa Rican holiday, because they all come and fill the beach and you get a taste of the local flavor. We have cool things like the cowboy parade.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the
Tope.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you get, the Christmas parades and all the local stuff, which is amazing, and they all put on a great show. So, yeah, for us, it's great.
There's the word gentrification being thrown around quite a bit here in Costa Rica, especially, in areas of like Nosara, Santa Teresa, Tamarindo and stuff. How do you guys make sure that local artists are being supported and not kind of being taken advantage of? Because, there's always that thing of like, oh, foreigners are coming and kind of taking advantage of, locals, etc. How do you guys make sure that doesn't happen when it comes to, I suppose from the artwork perspective?
Yeah, good question. I think we value the prices of the artwork are the prices that the artists sell their stuff for. So we're not lowering prices. We're not the changing or affecting the money that they receive. And in some ways we operate less as a traditional gallery. We don't have as many overheads. So we actually take less of a commission than most galleries do. So we make sure that a bigger percentage of money goes to the artist. So we try and support them a lot in that way.
Yeah, and then I think the other piece is the fact that a lot of people say, I'm good at my art or I'm good at my craft, but I don't have the marketing and the business side. Like
100%.
I'm just really focused. I'd really just love to paint, for example.
Yep.
And we're doing everything we can to put them in a position where they can do just that. Because we do have a lot of artists that we work with, and they do something else as well. They're either professor in the university, or they've got other jobs or other businesses. And so we're figuring out ways to drive more visibility, more business, more transactions for them, so that they can spend more and more of their time doing their art. And we have artists where even stylistically, it's because there's a huge range of what we represent. Some is better suited for our online platform, because if people elsewhere in the world find it, it's more likely that people from somewhere else are going to be interested in that style or genre of art. Whereas, it's much easier to sell, paintings of beaches by the beach than it is to sell them, in a big city. And the opposite is true for other genres of art.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's great what you guys are doing, which again is showcasing Costa Rican artists that beforehand was very dispersed. You guys have kind of provided a platform, organized it, but are also getting them in. Like, it's Costa Rica, it should be all Costa Rican art. Like, we shouldn't be bringing in foreign art to Costa Rica. Like, the whole point is that, like, you love Costa Rica, its culture, you're buying a place here, investing, like, get Costa Rican art in there so that, like, it gives it that feel. So yeah.
Also, it's not about, almost patronizing the Costa Rican artists. It's not, support local and support these Costa Rican artists. It's actually really good art, and it can be considered as an investment piece as much as art from any other country. And there are a lot of artists that we're working with that are breaking into the US market. They're beginning to show in different galleries in the States, particularly California. Their prices are beginning to go up. Like, it's not just about buying a piece to support that artist who lives in that part of Costa Rica. You can get a lot from it. It's about recognizing it and respecting it as a high caliber contemporary art.
Look, I've got one of my favorite artists here is Felix Murillo, who does a lot of, he's everywhere, but I'm obsessed with fish. Like, I have a contemporary tarpon on my wall over here, where I went to a local artist and was like, dude, do me a contemporary tarpon. And that's all I gave him, and he did it, came back, and I absolutely love it. But, like, I look back at Felix 10 years ago and how much his work was, and then how much it is today, and I'm like, wow. And that's where I love tourism, because tourism just raises the tide of everything, and can just have a huge impact. And, it frustrates me to no end that the government here doesn't focus more on tourism and understand how important it is. I'm sure that, they've got a lot of stuff to do, but it's a huge part directly and indirectly of its GDP. But I bet you if you sat down with the president, I don't think he knows that much about it. But, like, I could be completely wrong, but, like, they're never talking about it.
Yeah, it's a different tone. We spent a lot of time in San Jose.
Yep.
And there are tourists there, but they're mostly flying in and headed out.
Yep.
And we do make this suggestion like, hey, why don't you spend a night and go see some, openings? And we have a newsletter that we send out every week that explains and sort of shows these are all the latest gallery openings. In case you're available, you should go. But you're absolutely right. It is a different tone. It is a little, it's not a little, it's a lot more corporate. It's a lot more like this is business and this is what we're doing. And quite a bit of it is sort of government business as well. So they do get bogged down in that. And I think that translates into, if you're starting a business here, it does reflect into the complexities of doing that. And we can talk about that.
Well, tell me about that.
That's the shift that we've seen.
Tell me about the complexities, because I think a lot of people would love to move here or start a business here. I mean, what should they really understand?
Wherever you're from, odds are it's about 10 times easier to do business. So for us, we were new to it. We know people that have businesses here, but we were opening a business that isn't currently being done by other people. Meaning, if we were going to be real estate agents, we'd be like, so what exactly do we need to do? And someone can give you a list of everything. And then it would still be a pain and it would suck. But we're doing some stuff that kind of nobody else is doing.
We were quite confusing because we were an art gallery. So a lot of people could get on board with art gallery. But then when we're online and we want to sell internationally as well, it was very difficult to explain our business setup.
Yeah, we on the banking side alone, we've had 2 different banks come and interview us and go out and interview our artists to make sure what we're talking about is actually true. And so for sure, we're learning Spanish, and I really suck at it, and Belinda's quite good.
I'm not.
Sorry, in comparison to me.
In comparison to Jonathan, I am, but that doesn't really say too much. Sorry.
Well, but so we're very apologetic, and we do a lot of Google Translate, and periodically we'll have someone help us out. But more often than not, we're just very apologetic, and we try. But there are some bits of the language barrier where you're trying to explain something that isn't being done currently. And it's not easy to get that across when Google Translate doesn't translate it very well, because what you're trying to say, when you're thinking of different ways to say it. But so banking's one.
But the language barrier is a big thing, because there's one thing being conversationally quite good at Spanish, and there's another thing going to the bank and having high level technical conversations. That's a whole other degree of being good at Spanish. So that was something that did make it difficult.
Yeah. And then culturally, what we're doing, for example, and a lot of artists have told us, most Costa Ricans don't put art high on their list. If they've got a lot of extra cash, a BMW is pretty high on their list, but a nice piece of art isn't. So there's a smaller percentage, for example, like whether you're, people, in North America or you're from Europe, art is something that has been sort of shown, discussed, been part of people's lives and families for generations. And you generally know somebody within your family that's connected in some way to some art. And whereas here, if you see listings of multi-million-dollar properties in San Jose, there's a lot of them that have bare walls and nice furniture, but kind of bare walls, and it's a big box. So there's going to be a journey for us to try and shift that conversation. So that's something where when you look at a kind of business that you're heading into, where are the gaps, right? And who is it you're selling to, and what are you trying to sell? For us, it was a lot of discovery. And we're making, tons of progress. We're excited about it. We're doing lots of cool things. Maybe it's because we're opening up a space that nobody's in, but also, even finding people that are receptive. For example, for us talking to a builder that offers an FF&E package, they're much more receptive to have an art conversation. If it's a builder that sells an empty box with a key in it, then they're much less interested in having an art conversation because they've never thought of it and it's not part of their work. So I would say, something else is just do the research to really know who is it you're going to be selling to, how big is that audience, how competitive is it, and then whatever you think how difficult it is to do that where you are, then make it a lot more difficult. Not because you shouldn't be able to put in the work and get success. I think it's a bit of a, maybe it's the price you need to pay, which is you're living in a paradise. Why shouldn't it be a little more challenging?
I call it a natural filter. Okay?
Fair enough.
Because again, if you don't really want to do it here, like if you're not really into it 100% and dedicated to it, and it doesn't matter on what front, it filters you out really quick.
You're so right.
You
Yeah.
know, so that's why I say the beauty of Costa Rica is a lot of it's all organic. And I mean, everything is like nothing is ever really planned and everything is a little bit more organic. So, kind of what filters through and actually gets done sometimes, is people that really want to get stuff done.
That's totally true. And
Yeah.
that's a great example for what we see with the real estate market here.
Yep.
The most successful real estate agents, you could be like, oh, but they've been here a long time when it was easy.
Yep.
I suspect that it was never easy. And it's just there were a lot of real estate agents throughout that whole time. And it's this, cream rises to the crop, right? The most successful people, whether they were here or whether they were, doing real estate in the US, they were going to be successful in the US or they're going to be successful here.
True.
And then there's new people coming in and a lot of people just sort of saying they do things, but they're not really doing it.
Yeah.
So that natural filter is a great way of looking at it because you really do have to dedicate yourself to it unless you've got actually, and even that may not be true, unless you've got so much money where you can just buy a business.
But sometimes it doesn't apply.
But I will say then you are, you're crossing your fingers that whoever's running it for you is going to do the job, right? And if you're not paying attention to it, it could slide off a cliff really fast.
Well, awesome, guys. This has been great. But my last question for you, if you inherited $500,000 and you had to invest in a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you guys invest it in and why?
Well, we've done both.
Okay.
So, we have a house, similar kind of dollar value, and then we have opened up a business. So personally, I think for us, because of just who we are and how we want to spend our time, the business would have been if I had a either or, I would do the business. We want to do that hard work. We want to get ingrained in the culture in the community. And this is a really great way to learn your way. Whereas if you have a house, yes, it can earn you passive income and it can be turnkey and you can hire somebody to rent it out for you. And that's great. But then in many ways, I think you'll always feel quite like a tourist.
Yeah.
And whereas a business, I think, forces you, providing you're willing to put in the work, it forces you to really get an understanding of the people, the culture, other businesses who you're going to engage with, and what's happening in the market. And this kind of podcast is a great way, for us to further understand other pieces, right? Because when we listen to your conversations, it's a great way for us to pick up on topics that we're less familiar with. And by the way, there are so many topics we're less familiar with. So, we need all the help we can get.
Yeah, good answer.
Awesome. Well, guys, I very much appreciate you taking the time to join us here on the podcast. Anyone that wants to basically look at some of your artwork, all of the contact details are down in the description down below. But very much appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Amazing. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks for having us, Richard.
No worries. See you later. I hope you enjoyed that podcast there with Jonathan and Belinda, guys. It's very interesting, touching art. It's something we've never touched before. Personally, the older I get, the more I want to invest in art. Some of it's so beautiful. But I think, again, if you're going to be making an investment in a home here, do support local artists. Take a look at their platform. All of the contact details are in the description down below, as well as their email as well. I think the thing that I was trying to get across here is I don't think they're trying to take advantage of local artists at all. Quite the opposite. They're trying to showcase at a national and international level. So this can kind of really only help them. And I think as Costa Rica starts to develop more, I think we'll start to see more and more Costa Rican artists kind of come to the forefront here. But I hope you enjoyed that podcast there, guys. Remember, if you're enjoying this, please give us 5 stars, subscribe, pass the pod, guys. Let's try and get all this information out there as much as we can. If you're looking to do anything in Costa Rica or just want to chat with us about anything, guys, and give our opinion. I mean, I have tons of conversations. We're a sucker for helping people. So just email us info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. Or you can just go online, type in my name, Richard Beckson, or Costa Rica Investments, and you'll find us, and you can inquire through there. But again, anything you're trying to do here, we're happy to give you our point of view. But appreciate your support, guys, and hope everyone has a great holidays and New Year's. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.